AI technology continues to transform how businesses operate. By embedding AI into internal audit processes, organizations can identify new patterns and mitigate emerging threats while also eliminating the manual process of reviewing charts and spreadsheets. IBM Open Pages with Watson is a cognitive driven, integrated governance, risk and compliance solution. IBM Open Pages GRC is rated as a global leader by every industry analyst for many years in a row. IBM has infused AI capabilities in Open Pages GRC solution that makes it undeniably smarter. AI infusion also eliminates the manual process of reviewing organizational charts and spreadsheets and offers language-based or rule-based software to automatically understand texts and provide timely insights to risk and compliance professionals. So having said that, I would like to welcome the speakers for today's event. We have Mr. Pradeep Iyer, Segment Leader AI, IBM India South Asia. He manages IBM Data and AI in India South Asia. With over 18 years of experience across industries, he has been instrumental in helping enterprises unlock value from data. In his role as an offering leader, his current focus is to identify and build AI journeys for customers that can transform volumes of data into cognitive intelligence. As a data and AI evangelist, he has helped several organizations accelerate business transformation with adoption of AI. He doubles up as a leader developing an ecosystem of new generation hybrid cloud. He has been enabling organizations build and manage AI applications across any cloud. It has been a delight for him to deploy solutions that are innovative, flexible, scalable, manageable, and also secure. An alumnus of JBIMS and engineer in academics, he has seen business analytics transform over the last decade from proprietary software to the world of open source. We thank you for joining us today. Also, we have Atul Joshi, Solution Specialist, AI, IBM India South Asia, who is a chartered accountant with strategic planning and acquires an IT consulting experience of over 17 years. He is part of IBM Data and AI team with a focus on performance management solutions and has been instrumental in technically on driving the IBM's business analytics value proposition across the customers. His core expertise is around envisaging the performance management led solutions covering a broad spectrum of strategic and financial planning, management and financial reporting that is strengthened by predictive and prescriptive analytics. So over to you, Pradeep.
Hey, thanks so much. And very good afternoon to all of you. It's a delight to have all of you here this afternoon with us. And you know, it's a journey that we've been having for the last 2 years. We've been speaking a lot on the GRC subject, and it's a learning for me and Atul regularly, especially when we speak to so many enterprises. And in these current times of remote working, even more, challenges of how work is, being handled with the auditors that we know. And every time we speak to them, they talk about, can this be done by our solution? And believe me, a lot of work has gone back to our research labs to make enhancements and to bring a lot of agility in the capabilities that a audit solution can offer to the auditors, because the dynamics of the business are changing. Earlier we had the window of 90 days, but in 90 days a lot of things changed in these times, and And that calls for a lot of capabilities to be given in the hands of the auditor to enhance their skills, their knowledge. I'm sure the function doesn't change, right? But the way we apply technology to get answers to the questions which are required for a strong audit governance in place is something which is driving both of us as we speak to several of our clients. And whether it's a bank, whether it's a manufacturing company or a large conglomerate, we have seen that audit is on the top of their minds. And we see so much of news that is coming, the involvement of board and a lot of practices which are required for all the companies as they are listed and the way they function. And audit becomes a quintessential part of how an organization is doing business in current times. And I'm sure Atul will make it very interactive as we speak. You can of course share your questions with us. We're here to share our experiences and how our product management has been able to assimilate all this requests which has come across the globe from several auditors and put it together in the solution that we're going to showcase to you in the next few minutes. So I'll request Atul. I'm sure there was a lot of background shared already about what Atul does. I'm sure it is worth your time. So thank you once again for giving us your time this afternoon. Over to you, Atul.
Thanks a lot, Pradeep, and good afternoon to all the attendees, and really appreciate you joining. Let me just start sharing my screen. Right, and Pradeep, let me know if you're able to see my screen now.
We're able to see your screen.
Yeah. Great. Right, so what I'm planning to do is I'll give you a brief overview about the solution, and I'm going to actually focus more on the product demo, and we'll bring out the nitty-gritties of a typical challenge and how do you address those challenges in the entire audit management across any organization. As Pradeep was saying, it's not just one industry or few companies. The internal audit team, it's central to all the companies to ensure that the internal control exists. And it's also these days very necessary. You see a lot of news coming out, in terms of ineffectiveness of those controls and the bad impact it has on the reputations of the companies. To start with, I'm just highlighting some of the known challenges that you might be facing, especially if you are not having any solution to actually empower your team, the entire internal audit team. And also it's not just about one team who is doing the audit, looking at the control effectiveness or looking at their observation to ensure that the governance is placed. It's also about the auditee, right? So the auditee should also have the sort of a capability where he can collaborate, he can participate, and it would be a really win-win game for both the parties, auditors as well as auditees, right? So that's where we say that typically the challenges around the collaboration, not just among the auditors, but also between the auditor and auditees. Then managing the content, in terms of having those findings, work papers, which needs to be reviewed by peers or reviewed by seniors, working towards managing the audit in a stringent time of due dates that you have. It's also about the feedback, right? So you come out with some observations, and the timelines are given to the different functions and teams so that they work upon those weaknesses, lacunas, or observations that are shared with them, and ensure that the controls are in place. And towards the end, it kind of maps to the overall GRC framework that the organization is trying to put in place. And these days, if you see, it's the days of data, and the internal audit team also gathers a lot of data, very qualitative data, which gives you real insight into some of the things that are needed to work upon and improve the efficiency, improve the governance and control aspect, and finally to sort of enable them with some sort of reports or dashboards or insight driven uh, analysis that the team would want to do. So that's a kind of some of the problem areas we try to address. So if you look at how this all these things are stretched together, you are looking at the entire audit universe. Typically in an organization, there are various types of audits. There are audits around the finance or process audit or compliance audit and so on and so forth. So it's also important that you plan your resources and ensure that their efforts, their availability is also fully utilized, and they while they work across various stages of audit, whether it's planning, the actual observation, recording the entire set of activities, and sharing that with the auditee, finally looking at the report that can be shared to the teams as well as the top management. It actually addresses the whole cycle of audit. And while doing that, they come across various challenges, and we'll see that as a part of the demo. How do you actually ensure that those challenges are addressed? So what we have is the solution called IBM Open Pages with Watson. It's actually an enterprise GRC solution. Audit management is I would say a module as a part of the broad range of capability that it provides. But having said that, it also touches upon some of the critical GRC aspects, whether it's technology, ensuring that the regulations are mapped into collaborating between the different parties, looking at the operational risk aspect, ensuring the policy compliance is there, right? So even if you start your journey with the audit management as the initial sort of module, you can always expand that into multiple other GRC areas. We are not covering that as a part of today's session, but the benefit is once you start with any module, you can expand across, and you are looking at the holistic GRC framework that is available. So that's what you have as a part of the capability. But it's not just about a GRC framework or the audit management. What we have tried to do is we have tried to enhance the capabilities of the users, right? And also giving them an experience that really increases their efficiency and gives maximum output that they can look at, right? So whether it is about using the solution, using the task-based views that we have, the collaboration that is available, or the ability to actually ingest data from multiple sources. So you can actually quickly upload a flat file like Excel file, or connect to the data sources, but also give the different users the ability to for those who may not have the time, sort of give them a questionnaire that they can fill in, and the data is ingested into the in your framework as well. And then finally, the entire thing is available for you as a part of reporting, dashboarding, and advanced capabilities, where you are looking at the entire set of data and try to create the meaningful insights from that. Now, the reason why we are calling it IBM Open Pages is Watson is because we have also included a lot of AI capabilities that are available as a part of the IBM offering. So it could be something like, as simple as, a smart assistant, a chatbot sort of capability built into the solution, or it could be something where you look at the textual data and try to connect that to the meaningful controls that need to be there in the system. So essentially, as a user, you could just look at inputting the data with some text, your views, observation, and the Watson capability would actually try to understand that data using the natural language understanding, natural language processing, and map that automatically with the controls, so that you're also leveraging the the latest and greatest cutting edge technology that we have today. Now, just to give you an example how this works, and again, this is only a representative object model. This can be enhanced because Open Pages provides a lot of flexibility to actually, configure your entire workflows, your business requirements to fit into the, this audit management framework, right? So it can be something where you define your business structures, the entities, different functions which are auditable, and then look at the audit universe in terms of multiple audits being managed by different teams, which actually details out into the different audit sections that you have, and the auditors working upon those specific areas of responsibilities through their work papers. Look at the findings. These findings can be shared with the auditees. There could be review comment and so on and so forth, right? But this is only about audit. We can actually leverage that with the entire risk management process as well. So as you can see, every entity would have multiple process which are inherently associated with multiple risks, and to manage those risks you need to have the controls in place. Those controls can be tested with the defined test plans. The results can be validated and so on and so forth. So this really becomes an a kind of iterative cycle which gives you the ability to improve the confidence level in the business users. So it kind of ties back both the things. So the work paper would be looking at the test plans or the audits across the different entities or different functions and teams within the organization, being linked to the processes, and obviously the process with the inherent risk and controls, which are also kind of tied with the audit section. So in nutshell, your compliance team, your risk team can work very closely with your audit team, and they can benefit from the cohesive nature of these different processes, right? Now with this, what I'll do is I'll run through a short product demo. Uh, Primarily, we'll be covering various aspects, with respect to the entire audit management, starting with the planning, the execution, how do you work on the findings, reporting and closure. And also we'll talk about, some of these aspects that I talked about, which takes this solution to the next level. Whether you talk about, including those AI capabilities that we have, or the business user friendly task views, or the workflow capabilities that we have. So while I switch to my demo, I would request the team to, quickly put out, some small poll questions that the audience can go through. Yeah.
We'll be launching the poll one now. So kindly fill in your responses. We'll wait for a few more seconds before we launch the next poll. Second poll will be displayed on your screen. We'll be moving on to the third poll. We will be closing the polls now. Yes, Mr. Atul, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so let me start sharing my screen again. Let me know if you're able to see my screen, which says task view.
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
Yeah. So what we've tried to do is, sometimes there is a connectivity with respect to the, web-based application and stuff like that. So I've kind of recorded the whole demo, but I would be actually doing a pause. I'll be doing a voiceover, and I'll be pausing in between, to elaborate on those things. And obviously, post this session, when we engage on a one-to-one session, we can have a more deep dive session, because looking at the time we have today, it actually covers only a portion of the capabilities that the product has, right? So we'll start with the task views. Essentially the users with their different capabilities, they will use a web-based application that we have. They will log into the application, and once they log in, what they will see is what we call uh, a task-based dashboard, right? So while you work across various audits, and the audits at various status, various stages of completion, along with the controls, the issues that you want to mitigate, everything is available to the business user, again depending upon what is the level of activity that they manage within the organization, right? So every dashboard would be different for different users. So what you see on top is, you have the dashboard, you have the different task, which gives you a glimpse as to what you need to do, the task of the teams, etc. And then the tasks are divided in terms of various due dates. Again, it kind of brings in that collaborative nature, where you can look at, what are the things that need to be planned in advance, and how the different audits are spanned over, right? So you can have multiple audits, not just one type of audits. And also you have the risk and controls associated with those audits, which are again tied very closely with that, along with the work paper management, or you're looking at the entire status of audit, and different surveys that you have taken into account from the audit perspective, so on and so forth. So this kind of gives you a complete holistic view of the entire audit universe that you are looking at. You can also look at things like findings and issues, or your organization, uh, quick dashboard in terms of the completion, and so on and so forth, right? Now the key thing here is, apart from those things, I look at the actual things that I need to take into account, right? So for example, the workflow that is there. So what I need to do in terms of my audit engagement, if there are any work papers, I could look at the stages, I could look at the different types of the work papers, right, across months, weeks, and days. So this gives me a kind of clue in terms of what exactly I need to do, and it gives me that detail as well, right? Now, I could be looking at something that I subscribe for my team. So you have these assignees that we call, different team members that I have here, or it could be for top management, where complete list of, workflows, across the organization of the internal audit that is available to you, right? So This gives me a dashboard as well as sort of task view in terms of what I need to do, right? So that kind of gives a high level view. Now let's get into the detail of this, right? So what I'll do is we'll look at different audits we have. So I clicked on that, and then I get a view of different audits at various stages. I can filter through this. Let me go into one of the details, which is accounts receivable, right? Now here I'm looking at the details for the work papers included in that particular audit, the sections, different audit sections that I have here, right? And the configurable workflow, which says what actions I need to do, right? So in this case, it's asking me to submit a detail as to who is the assignee for that workflow, and some of the aspect like criticality and stuff like that. You can also have the guidance so that people know what exactly needs to be done for this particular workflow, and some of the items which are critical in nature. Red asterisk is something that you can't move ahead unless you complete. And also it gives a detail as to various work paper stages. Some of those are still pending, some of those are completed or not. Now for all the objects we have this tree pattern, right? So you can actually drill down into that. So this particular audit, account receivable audit, is divided into multiple audit sections, multiple plans and controls and things like that. So within audit sections, you can have multiple steps of the audit, right from the notification letter, the project discussion, so on and so forth, which are again divided into multiple team members with the actions. The same case with the plan. So the entire setup of plan as to which auditor would perform what part of activity, what are the bandwidths assigned, what are the scheduled start dates, things like that. You have all the details, and also the processes, which are the different processes that we are covering as a part of this audit. So everything in one place with this tree kind of diagram that you can look at. So this gives you a complete detailed view of the audit. Now, one more thing is, while you're doing the planning for the audit, it gives you a audit plan launcher as well, right? So at the start of the audit program, probably you could have a form where you define the entire planning process for the audit, starting with what is the nature of the audit that I'm looking at, what are the total number of hours designated for that, if there are any travel expenses, etc., all of that, right? And then getting into the details of that in terms of your audit allocations, auditor allocation, as to the number of hours across multiple auditors that will be spent, and also the component of what is the effort for field work reporting. Everything is available for you, along with the budgeted versus actual variance analysis, right? So what was the budgeted effort and budgeted expenses that you are looking at? Everything is available for you, right? So this sort of activities is available for the audit team members, as well as the senior member within the different audit teams, who initially plans for these activities, right? So once these activities are typically planned, the audit is actually launched into the system. So what we'll do is, once we looked at the detail about this plan, then let's look at what are the different additional things I have as a part of the audit. So this audit is for different processes. So I can associate different processes or different IT systems I have. Or later on, I will also talk more about the issues and file attachment that you can include as a part of this as well, right? So let us now look at some more details around that. So maybe once I'm done with this, I'll submit this for approval. This kind of goes through the workflow, and then it is actually going for the some different audit member, right, who is actually going to take the action upon that. So the thing that you that you saw in terms of those actions, these are the configurable workflows that you can define, right? So as a part of the audit, you can have the workflow for the entire audit that needs to be processed, or the workflow, or the findings. So all the objects within the solution that are critical from the audit management point of view can go through the workflow. Now, what we have done is we have created a workflow that can be designed by a power user, but it's very easy to use. So it's literally a drag and drop thing, right? So you have a list of workflows here. what we'll do is let's look at one of the workflow for audit. So this is the audit engagement workflow, right? So what you see here is various stages, and these stages are moved upon through various action items. So the arrows that you see, those are the actions, and the boxes that you see are the stages. When you move from one stage to another, you can have the conditions. For example, unless the certain things are complete, you won't be able to move to the next stage, and so on and so forth. So in this particular case, what we are looking at is the different type of audit. If it is a finance audit, it follows a particular workflow. If it is a compliance audit, maybe there are multiple levels of approval that are needed, right? Again, I mean, this is just a demo. We would actually look at your process and build those controls as a part of the process. Those blue arrows that you see, these are the actions, and within those actions, as you can see, you would notify the different assignees. You would have controls, you would have condition, and so on and so forth, right? So for example, in this particular case, what we are saying is, if this is the compliance audit, if that's a condition, then it would follow certain rules, and then only it will move to the next stage, right? So that was one example around the moving from one stage to another. You can have the due dates for various stages. Again, that can be defined. Who would need to be notified? There would be assignee, or you can have maker checker concept, basically, submitter, approver, and so on and so forth. Let's look at some of the other example here. How do you work with the work papers, right? So for work papers, typically there would be a person who would actually prepare the workflow work paper for the audit. It can go through the review with the peer or the senior, and then there would be validations and reviews and so on and so forth, right? So here is another example around the work paper management. So whenever you create the work paper in the system, it can go through this particular workflow that puts the control and that puts the various stages and action items for the users, right? So in this case, for example, if I get into the details, you'll notice that when I move from execution to review, this needs to be again sent back to the preparer who has done that. So there is a person who has prepared this, and there is a person who has reviewed this. Post review, it will go back to the preparer that the things are reviewed. The other thing could be around findings, and that's where really speaking, it gives the ability to have sort of interactive workflow between the auditor and auditee, right? So here, for example, what would happen is these reviews are being shared with the management or the team members, the functions and teams for the area that is being audited, and then it can actually go through multiple iterations. So for example, in this particular case, if you are rejecting, if the auditee is rejecting this response, probably you need to have certain classification, like what is the requirement, clarification, or disagree, reason for disagreement, and things like that, right? So without that, you can't actually move to the next stage. And this can actually again go through multiple reviews as well, to have that control in the process, right? So we've seen different types of workflow. It's also important to know how you actually create a new one, right? So here is a sample around creating the issue for the observation that you are looking at. So let me start creating this issue workflow. So this is for the type of issue management. So I'm saying that the object is issue, and then this could be an automated or a manual workflow that you can define in the system, right? So here you see those boxes. I'll just drag and drop. So I have the additional stage. Let's call this as issue review. So we'll call this as issue review stage, which will be the second stage. The first is obviously the start stage, and then I'll map the two things with the action. So this action is probably something around starting that review process, where you had seen earlier, right? So you can have those controls and conditions in place. And then probably just quickly add another stage. Let's call it the last stage or the end stage that we are looking at. And then we'll map the issue review stage to the end stage. So this is all quite easy. A business user who has the understanding of the process, who is a power user. Of course, you don't want everybody to create the workflows. It would be done as a one-time activity by your power users, right? But the key thing here is you are the best judge of your processes. So it actually gives you the ability to have those controls in place by the team members who understand the processes more, right? In some of our implementation, we have actually seen that the business users also collaborate, and they actually participate in actually configuring the process along with the developers. In fact, if you look at the way the solution is kind of capturing this is all form driven. So for example, just adding a due date to this particular stage, it's very easy to use, adding those assignees or subscribers who would be notified. And once you are done with this, what you can do is you can just quickly publish this. So once it is published, anytime a new issue is created, it will follow this particular workflow, right? Now, we talked about the AI. There are a couple of ways in which we would be looking at the AI capabilities that are embedded, we are using within the audit management. One is the smart assistant. So it's like a chatbot where you can ask questions. This second one is around looking at this textual data and trying to interpret that and map it with the control, right? So here in the bottom we have it's somehow it's not visible right now, but in the bottom you will have a chat box. You can click on that and then you can ask some of your questions, right? For example, one of the question I'll ask is some definition, like what is the inherent risk. So I probably am not a expert on understanding the GRC terminology, so I can ask that to the chatbot. Or it would be something where I need to quickly create an issue, right? So and notify that to the right stakeholders within the organization. So I can say probably just create an issue and then I'll map it to the validation. So it gives me a link to quickly create that issue as well. So this one was around using a smart assistant that you can have. Then the other thing is around when I create any object like issues or work paper or findings, how do I actually use the natural language understanding? So in this case, probably what I'll do is I have found that some of the attachment for the supporting are not up to the mark, and that is an issue clearly. So I want to tag that as an issue, which would be which would form part of the audit management process. So I'm just putting some English around that. And when I create that issue using the IBM Watson natural language classifier, it will actually suggest me what controls I need to have in place, right? So you can see that button of view suggestion. If I click on that, it actually creates different possibilities that I have. So all these list of controls is from your control library. It looks at your textual data, and then it says with so much of confidence score, probably this is the control that needs to be associated with this particular view, right? So here based on the description that we have provided, you have a list of issues. I can click on more to understand more about why that control needs to be in place, and I also have my relevant score. So when I click on that, it automatically maps that to the control for this issue. I also have the ability to manually add the control based on the existing library. So let me just select one of the controls that I have here. So I'll just select this one. Right, so my issue is ready. Then I can, what I'll do is I have some of the mandatory fields that I need to fill. As you can see on the right hand side, you have issue owner, you have the due date. Unless I input those data sets, it will not allow me to save the issues. Let me just select some of the users as the issue owner. Probably I can add issue approver, etc. if needed. Let's put some due date. So by this due date, this issue needs to be resolved. Everything is there within the system, documented, tracked with the audit tracker, right? So we have seen how the AI is used to create to map those controls, or to get more understanding into the data, right? So this is what we thought we'll quickly kind of include it here. And let's kind of summarize this. Some of the things I was not able to show as a part of the demo. Let me just quickly run you through these screens. So just give me a moment. I'll go back to my deck. You're able to see my deck? Yeah. Pradeep, can you confirm if you are able to see my deck?
Yes, yes, Atul.
Yeah, yeah. So we've seen some of those details that we had used for entire planning exercise for the audit, or the actual execution where you look at the work papers being validated, or the comments of the auditee being looked at, going through multiple iterations. You could also have very nice reports and dashboard. We embed the Cognos Analytics engine along with this Open Pages internal audit. So the entire audit data is available for you to do the advanced exploration and the analytics around that. We also saw quickly how you can actually look at those different issues that can be mitigated, the issue management capability. A lot of people actually ask about how does it support the risk-based scoping for the audit. So when you have a choice of area, for the audit that you need to select because of limited bandwidth, one of the way to do that would be to assign risk scores, to have the risk rank in the system, so that only the high or medium level risk areas are regularly audited. That's the kind of process some of the companies follow as well. And this solution actually has a built-in capability to look at the GRC, the governance risk related calculation that you can include. And based on those risks, based on the weighted average risk, or different methodologies of calculating risk associated with the various business processes or entities which are under the scope of audit, you can make that selection and use that as a part of your scope. Once all these activities are completed, as you have seen, we had gone through multiple workflows. You have a kind of summary where everything is ready to be closed, and the auditor who is owner for that particular audit, once all the set of activities are done, he can actually close that, and the lock appears. That object is not available for again modifying the things. So that kind of follows the concept of governance as well, for the audit. And at the end of the day, what you are looking at is a pixel perfect report, right? Those descriptive PDF report that can be generated out of the system. So the solution also supports this. So while this is a sample sort of thing, we can actually generate those reports which are pixel perfect. We have the MS Office integration as well, so you can have reports in PDF, Word. While you do the compliance audit, sometimes you also need to have a repository of those policies that are used as a benchmark, and the audit is done with respect to those. So we support all of those capabilities from the start stage to the end stage of the entire audit management, right? So with this, I would kind of summarize this in these key capabilities that you get. Probably, at this stage, I would request some of the team members to just quickly take a screenshot of this. This becomes quite handy in terms of understanding whether your requirements would meet the solution benefits that we have demonstrated. Again, I mean, due to limited time, we just thought, we'll focus on some of the key capabilities. As we go forward, as we engage deeper into your specific queries, your areas of requirement, we can elaborate that with more detailed, discussions around that. So this is what we thought we'll, quickly share today. So with this, what I would request the team is we can start the Q&A session. If the team has any questions, we can answer those questions.
Yes, Atul. So we have two questions lined up already in the chat session. The first one, which is asked by Ashutosh Sethi, it says we are already using GRC module in SAP. How far Watson is different?
Correct. And I have, in one of my earlier conversation, this question came up. That was a SAP customer. See, the SAP GRC is, focused around the SAP processes specific to the SAP, whereas what we offer is the audit management capabilities across the universe. So it's not limited to only one area. It can be extended to any area. And the other thing is, this also covers, so IBM Open Pages as a solution covers a wide range of GRC capabilities. The entire GRC framework can be in place. So it also extends beyond that. So, I would put it that way. Of course, we are very keen to understand and have that discussion one-on-one so that we can elaborate more, understand your issues in detail and, articulate in a more detailed manner.
Yes, thank you for answering that. So we have the second question from Kamlesh Mishra, which says, can I see one click of consolidated non-compliance data which were not complied by operation team in this software?
Correct. So that's a part of our reporting and dashboarding capabilities and the advanced analytics for deeper insight. So this platform gives the the planning, execution, and reporting happening entirely within the same solution. Right now, once you start engaging in this solution, it creates a lot of data points. As you said, I need to know which areas lacking control, where probably the findings went through multiple iterations. It took a lot of time. So the questions can be numerous. Now the benefit with this solution is, like your question, that the question could be across any of the smaller or larger area within the audit. We can create those reports and dashboard, as a part of the solution. So the users get exact monitoring capability and, deeper insight into how the audits are happening, what are the areas that need, better controls, and so on and so forth. So yes, the answer is we can have a specific analysis in one place for the relevant users.
Okay, so the next question is from Mr. Rajesh. He says, is it covered COSO frameworks?
Correct. So as I said, this is not just limited to any one set of, capabilities. Like COSO, there are multiple frameworks. Any framework that you wish to, embed in your, GRC processes, we can include that. The way it works is, if you already have the, nuts and bolts of those frameworks, we can just use it as it is. Or there are also some of the content providers which provide the feed that we can programmatically ingest in the solution as well. So the answer is yes, we can support multiple frameworks. And this solution is actually being used by a wide variety of BFSI or manufacturing giants, in multiple countries. I won't be talk about a lot of client references in today's session, but rest assured is used by a wide variety of customers across the globe.
Yes, great, thank you. So we have the next question from Mr. Murali. Whether it will support continuous audit or concurrent audit approach.
Correct. So we have some of the banking BFSI customers, and they use it across multiple types of audits. If you're referring to the specific concurrent audit, which is a term used in banking industry, yes. Even if you are using more in a generic nature in terms of agile methodology, or some of those the frameworks that you want to use as a part of increasing the efficiency and effectiveness of your audit team, it supports that. So it really speaking is a continuous process that you would that you would use to improve the efficiency of the team.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Atul. So we have another question from Subbarao, which says normally MFIs are measuring their quality of portfolio through audit grade system. Was this built in Watson?
So Watson provides the capability to ingest the data generated by the solution and helps you map that data with the relevant control. Again, I mean, the usages can be multiple. Watson comes in multiple flavors in terms of answering the complex question of the users, to looking at the textual data inputted and interpreting in a way that the a simple English is actually tied to the right set of control that needs to be there in the system. So it's all about how do you leverage the capabilities of Watson that we have to improve the efficiency in the audit management process.
All right. So we have the next question from Avneet, which says, can this be interlinked with SAP for control analysis?
Some of the things that we didn't include in today's session was how the system integrates with the other sources. So we have a couple of ways to do that. One is a simple fast map tool, where if you have the data available in a flat file or an Excel file, it can be mapped to the audit management fields that we have defined, and business user can quickly update that. The other thing is a built-in ETL kind of capability called SDI integrator, which can connect to the ERPs or different system, and take or ingest that data and map it with your audit requirements. So the answer is yes, we can do that. Probably we can get into more detailed discussion on this as in our one-on-one session.
We have another question from Avneet Kumar, which says, can we have tracking and reminder to auditee for ATR?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. As a part of the feedback mechanism, you have seen that a glimpse of that in a workflow. When you ask the feedback from the auditees, you can actually set a due date, and if the remarks or comments are not provided within the due dates from the auditee, it can send automatic alerts or emailers or reminders. It also captures the efficiency in the entire audit management data. So tomorrow, when you are actually analyzing what is the interaction between auditor and auditee, which department is actually not cooperating. I mean, I'm just giving an example, right? So kind of which departments kind of more cooperative or less cooperative to the audit process demands, you can actually make that out. At the same time, having the alerts, notification, reminder capabilities all inherent to the solution.
So we have the next question from Mr. Subbarao, which says, can we measure the operations team and as well as audit team performance through this tool?
Right. So this solution also supports KRIs and KPIs that you can use, and that can be used to measure the effectiveness, or when it comes to, let's say, the operational risk analysis, RCSA and stuff like that. You have a lot of KRIs and KPI calculations that are used to monitor the health of different processes, right? So that's all part of our solution. As a part of the capability of the solution, we can definitely look at that, in terms of what different KPIs that you want to track, KPIs or KRIs of different functions. And the other aspect about this is, see, at the end of the day, this gives you a bird's eye view as to what is the health of your entire GRC framework. And when I say GRC framework, of course, audit management is one of the key pillar of your GRC framework. So the top management can actually have that heat map, where the KPIs are not just put as a number, But you also notice the relationship between the KPIs and the risk aspect of that function, or the entire organization at a higher level.
Yes, we have the next question from Nirmal Hegde. Do you have risk rating model for evaluating the unit?
Yes, we can. There are a couple of ways to do that. If you have a methodology, if there is a specific methodology that you are following, we can do that. We also have a separate module for model risk management, where you can use the model risk, a different model risk, compute the risk calculations, uh, in a very detailed manner. So typically liked and used by the risk professionals. So we have that as well.
So the next question from Deepak. Is it being used for automobile industry? How useful it would be for dealership audits?
We have, as I said, we have a large list of customers across the segment. I won't be able to name, but yes, there are customers in automotive, especially on the internal audit side. We have some of the customers who are using it. We can definitely look at, and again, I mean, if you look at the way people use this, they're looking at audit across the organization, right? So it's not just one operational audit or a finance audit. It can be actually across any process audit, including the relationship with the third party vendor assessment, as well. So yes, this is definitely there as a part of the solution.
So we have another question from Subbarao. Can this tool throw early warning signals by shaking the handcart business data?
I would honestly need to get into more detailed discussion on that. In general, it can identify the trends and statuses across the different KPIs specific to business units, which act as a early warning system, and also the methodology where the the efficiency of the people and processes to track those and action upon them within a given period of time. Uh, so the answer is yes, but again, I would love to have more detailed understanding of that so that you get detailed answer on that.
The next question from Ashutosh is, can monitoring, reviewing, and compliance of various audit reports possible through this tool?
Yes. So it is across any type of audit, and the compliance is the heart of the solution. As a part of the GRC framework, definitely that's something that people use our solution for.
Another question from Murali would like to know the compatibility for healthcare industry.
Yes. So as I said, the solution is used across multiple industries. We can look at specific use case you are looking at, but again, I mean, the answer is yes. We can use this for your business requirement.
We have a question from Chandrasekhar. Can it be useful to companies whether there is no separate internal audit department? However, the internal audit is done through external audit firms.
Yeah, that's quite natural. In fact, some of the MSME companies may not have a large internal audit department. Probably just one finance guy who kind of lies with the external auditors. Who are being out. Whom we have outsourced the activity. So that's also a use case, whether it is your employee or not. As long as it's an audit process, it's definitely doable.
Great. So we have a question from the Q&A from Venugopal. How this tool helps in avoiding repeated errors by team?
Yeah, so this is actually a very good question. In one of the interaction last week, we had a feedback where the requirement was to improve the quality control in the system, right? So when you do the audit on a regular basis, there are certain checks and balances which ensure that. So if I have to give you an example based on a certain risk score, you would have a mandatory sampling that needs to be taken into account. If that sampling is lesser than what is mandated, then obviously it goes on to reduce the quality of the audit. And an example like that would definitely bring in the aspects of improvement. It's all dependent upon how do you want to really drive the effectiveness of your team to improve the quality. So this inherently actually improves the process, because once you start using the solution, you will know what all things that are possible with the solution that you can use and improve the quality.
Yes, Mr. Atul. So since we're short on time, we're having multiple questions coming in. Well, I will close this Q&A with one last question, which is the solution available with multiple deployment options such as cloud or on-premise?
I don't know how did I miss that. It was actually part of my deck. Yes, we do support on-premise as well as cloud deployment for the solution. Good that you asked this question. Thanks a lot.
Okay, one last question, Mr. Atul.
Yeah, there were a lot of questions on the kind of industries that we work with. You can actually search it on any of the browsers. You will see a lot of our case studies across industries, whether automotive, banking, manufacturing, telcos. You would get all these case studies available in the public domain itself. Many of it is available for you to look at it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, great. So I will be closing this Q&A with another last question. So how do we integrate with our existing data sources that will be needed as a part of audit activities?
Right. So I think briefly I touched upon this. The solution has the capability to take the flat files or simple Excel data sets sorry, that you have, which you can upload. Or we could also use the built-in ETL capability, SDI integrator, to connect to various sources.
Yes, with this, we come to an end of a session for today. Thank you so much, Mr. Atul Joshi and Mr. Pradeep Iyer, for your insights on the topic and for honoring us with your presence. I would also like to thank each one of you for taking your time and joining in for this event. You could put down your feedback in the chat, where we'll be sending the feedback link. So your feedback is very important to us. Thank you once again, all.